Hi, friends.
Hello.
I am here with my dear friend Anne, also known as Teapot Witchery, and she has a podcast, and we are doing a collab video podcast today where we're going to talk Buddhism because of the fact that, she's a heathen and I'm a witch, but we both practice different forms of Buddhism. So we thought we would have a chat between friends about our practices.
And try not to fall off this bench.
Yeah. Yeah, you should see how we're sitting here. We are filming this in beautiful Old Town San Diego, where they're gearing up for Dia de los Muertos.
It's a very nice day today, too.
It is. We picked a gorgeous day. We just had breakfast at Casa Guadalajara, so we are stuffed full. And we
Ready
had
to go.
Yeah, we had Mai Tais, and so now we're ready to talk.
But only after the Mai Tais.
Yes, exactly. So, all right, Anne, I will let you lead this off here.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. This is the first time I've done a collaboration, so you'll have to bear with me. Thank you so much, Jenna, for being my first. So I personally grew up with Buddhism as a very integral part of my upbringing, and when Jenna told me that she was starting to study Buddhism, I thought that was very interesting. And recently I wanted to kind of do a cross table talk about how you practice it and how I practice it. As a heathen, technically it's not my mainstream.
No.
Technically speaking.
Yeah.
Technically speaking, this is not at the forefront, but it is my heritage, and it's something that I want to address and share with people. And I wanted to get Jenna's take because she came into it of her own free will. I'm just kidding. She came into it later in life, whereas I've had it since I was born. I figured we could just compare notes and how we came to it, what it means to us, how does practice look like, and how it contributes to our path and practice now after we've done it for X number of time. Years, X number of years.
Yeah.
So, do you want to go first, or shall I go first?
You go ahead and go first.
Rock,
because
paper, scissors?
they know a little bit about my practice.
Okay.
Yes. So we'll introduce them to you.
Oh, well, thank you. So I was born into a family who practiced Mahayana Buddhism, and have been essentially raised in and around that community for a very, very long time now. When I say Mahayana Buddhism, specifically speaking, wow, I'm so shiny in this video.
I know, the sun decided to come out and get us.
That's fine. You're here for the content, not for the faces, I think. I grew up in it, as a baby. I spent almost all of my weekends at temple. It was a community. Specifically Vietnamese and Chinese community. Shout out to Julin Sung in Honolulu, Hawaii. And take this moment to say hi, Tahiti, hi. Just grew up in and around it in Hawaii, and then grew up with it here in California, where practices are at home. My family is very much a part of the fabric of the community here. I myself have not inactively practiced it on and off over the years. I did the whole teenage rebellion thing where I said, screw you parents, I'm not going to do the thing that you do, except I'm going to come back to it as a semi-well-adjusted adult and take another look at it. But it forced me to take a hard look into what Buddhism meant, what the principles are for Eightfold Path and all that good stuff, and whether or not it applied to how I wanted to live my life. Ultimately, it does and it doesn't, and it's a convoluted thing from there. And then I came to heathenry, and here we are. I think that's a good intro.
That's a good intro, yes.
Quick notes version.
Right. And you all know I am a 45-year plus practicing witch. So I've been doing witchcraft for a long time now. And Buddhism kind of snuck into my life in the last couple of years. And yeah. Well, I'm going to shout out my best friend, Little Zen Crone, because she was studying to be a Zen priest. And I was kind of with her as she took this journey. And the more she talked, the more intrigued I became by it. And, I could recognize it was work. And I was actually, I think even then, starting to do work on myself. But then I decided to really full on embrace it about 1.5 years ago, maybe a little longer than that. And now it's really an integral part of my life every day, along with my witchcraft. So yeah, that's how we got here.
It's kind of cool how you can blend Buddhism with virtually any path.
Exactly.
It's a philosophy mostly to better yourself and just to lead a more righteous life, I think. And it blends so well with other paths like witchcraft and heathenry.
Yeah, I agree that, whatever spirituality you follow, Buddhism will definitely fit right in with it, because ultimately it is looking at ourselves, the ways we were raised, some things that were conditioned by our parents, things that were programmed by society, that, may not necessarily be us. And figuring those things out and finding a way to do things better, be better, and try and spread that to everyone in the world, because there's a lot of suffering out there. We
very
all
attached.
Suffer.
We're very attached.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, we are. We're very attached. That's for sure. But yeah, and try to, I guess, alleviate that by living our own lives more intentionally.
And to look inward, at least when I actually took the time to study what the Eightfold Path was, what the Four Noble Truths are, and, do that deep dive, it was a lot of internal work. Like, that's my, not interpretation of Buddhism, I'm not going to claim that, but it was my impression and my experience. It's like, we're all trying to reach nirvana. We're trying to reach that space where we are not attached to anything. Obviously, we're practicing detachment. But in order to do that, you have to do the inner work of like, what am I attached to? Why am I attached to this? And through meditation, be able to sort out why you're attached to that and be able to let that shit go. Can I swear on your channel?
Sure you can.
All right, so let that shit go. I don't know what audience you have.
I have a very adult audience, so yeah, we're good about that.
Kids, if you're watching this, you can say that word, just not around any adult.
So anyway, one of the things that we discovered is that although we both are practicing in the Mahayana tradition, they're very different, because I am practicing in the Japanese and Anne is Vietnamese.
So yours is Soto Zen, right?
Yes.
Soto Zen specifically.
Soto Zen specifically.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then there is, like, in Vietnam, there are obviously, like, all the different 31 flavors of Buddhism does come by. And they did came by, and like we discovered earlier, we actually were talking about this earlier during brunch in between Mai Tais.
We've been having a good conversation this morning.
Having a great time. That, Zen Buddhism does exist in Vietnam. It's known as Thieng Buddhism, which is, a third transliteration of a Sanskrit word that meant meditation. So that was an interesting thing to discover between the two of us. And we learned that Soto, and correct me if I'm wrong, Soto Zen Buddhism is one of the 3 schools of Japanese Zen Buddhism, which in and of itself is a part of Mahayana Buddhism. So it's almost like Soto Zen is like the grandchild.
Yes. You could say that, I think.
Say that, maybe?
Sure.
We'll go with that. It helps me understand it.
Right. Now, one of the things we haven't talked about, though, is what our practice looks like.
Right.
So for me, my practice is I meditate 2 times a day for 20 minutes.
Ugh.
I meditate once in the morning and I meditate in the evenings. There is a Sunday service, opening service in the morning, and then there is a closing service in the evening. And I have a teacher, a one-on-one teacher, and I am in his study group on Wednesday evenings. So you can see I'm pretty involved in this. I'm pretty committed. This is a daily thing, plus then you added my witchcraft, like we just had the full moon. So I went to a full moon circle. I play with tarot cards. I do spells, all of those kinds of things as well. And I think they meld beautifully together.
Did you hear about that guy that asked for spellcasters to keep his wife to him?
No.
Oh my God. I'll have to link that to you later. Sorry about that. The spellcasting reminded me of that. How to not do spells correctly.
Yeah, really.
And so my practice, how my parents practice is really a combination of Buddhism and Taoism. Since Taoism did get blended into Buddhism sometime in some century, I could give a better, sharper number, but Mai Tai. Can I use that as an excuse?
Sure.
So sometime in antiquity, Taoism had to hide, and it hid in Buddhism. So
that's fascinating.
Yeah, and that's how we end up with a lot of Taoist flavored kind of rituals and ceremonies. So for example, like my dad every morning will light incense to Guan Yin, or in Vietnamese is Quang Am, in Cantonese is Quỳnh Nhâm. I think in Japanese is canon, right?
Yes.
Yeah, in Japanese is kanon. So he offers incense to her as well as our ancestors that are on his altar. I tried to do that and then I just fell off the wagon. Whoops. I am what you call like a Christmas service kind of Catholic. Like you show up for the high holy days, you do your thing, and then you vamoose for the rest of the year. I'm a very bad Buddhist.
I love, though, that you own up to that. That's good that you own up to that.
I mean, I could just be like, I don't go every Sunday. So that's one way to practice every day. He rings the bell. He taps on the little frog-shaped drum. I don't remember what it's called exactly. Ooh. I'm gonna have to show you a picture of it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to show me that.
I'm actually set to inherit.
That almost sounds like a miyoko. Is it a wooden?
It's like a wooden fish.
Wood.
Yeah, the wooden fish.
Yeah, okay.
Frog fish. Yeah.
Okay.
So he has a wooden fish that he uses to kind of like keep tempo.
Yep.
As he chants. Yep.
That's what they would call, I think, the miyoko in Japanese.
Miyoko in Japanese. Mm-hmm. I don't know the name in Vietnamese.
But I think it's like a gourd-like thing. I'm not for sure.
It's kind of roundish, right?
Yeah.
And then it has like a slit on one end, then you have a little mallet and you kind of just tap over the top.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, cool. We're on the same page.
We got one thing right together.
We're going to fall off this bench from how hard we're laughing. So there's the chanting, the meditation while chanting. So they chant and meditate at the same time.
Ooh.
Yeah. And they chant from a transliterated Sanskrit text. And they have a copy of the text at home. I should just take pictures for you next time I'm home. And not only that, that's a daily practice for them. My dad does it. My mom does it. During the new moon and the full moon, actually, there are rituals that we participate in. Yeah, participate.
Okay.
Where growing up, we abstain from meat and animal byproducts. So it's like vegan for 4 days out of the month.
Oh.
And the thought process behind it is, Gunyam is boiled down to it is the goddess of compassion, as we all are familiar with.
That's correct.
So that's compassion towards every living being, including animals. So my mom kind of took it to an extreme, and she's been vegan since she was like 3, so 1956.
Wow.
You can imagine how hard it was being vegan in 1956.
Yeah.
So 4 days out of the month, usually according to the lunar calendar, the 1st and the 15th, which corresponds with the new moon and the full moon, where we abstain from meat. And that's another practice that we do. On those days, we make our offerings both to Gunyam and to the passing spirits as they're passing from this world to the next. We put our offerings outside along with a lit stick of incense so that they have food to take with them into the afterlife.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, so it's a lovely thing. I try to do it, and nowadays I try to uphold that tradition simply because it is part of my heritage, and I want to understand, embody, and be able to pass on this information to the next generation when they ask about it.
Right.
So those are the daily private practices, and then there's going to temple, and that in and of itself is an event. It can be an event. So my parents go every Sunday. Actually, they go every Sunday. Sometimes they even go Saturdays. But they go Sundays, and there's an opening ceremony. There's chanting, like a group chanting. I think the chanting is just to get you in that kind of group meditative space all at the same time. I think that's what happens.
Well, I actually chant at home. I don't just meditate. Yeah, before I meditate,
Yeah.
I chant the Heart Sutra.
Is that the Om Mani Padme Hum?
No,
I don't know
that's
what that is.
Avalokiteshvara. I can't.
I'll take your word for it.
I was going to say, we'll talk about that
We'll
later.
talk about that later.
Yes, but there is chanting to be done
Oh.
during the day and in the evening. And there's another verse I say. There's several verses for different things, but I do those as well in the morning and in the evening. And there's definitely more chanting during service.
Oh,
and
yes.
we don't have temples. They call them zendos.
That's cool.
Zendos or
Zendos.
Zen Centers.
Ah.
And this is where people go to, I have as yet to go to one personally, but you go in, and it's where, you chant together, and the priest does the service, and then you meditate together. And it's a combination usually of sitting meditation and walking meditation.
Oh, there's like a sit down and a stand up portion in service that I'm familiar with, but like you stand up out of respect for when the monks make their entrance, the procession in.
Yep.
And then they do their opening chants, and then everybody joins in, and then they ring the big bell, the big boy bell, and they use the, what do you call that, Miyoko,
To keep time for the chanting.
Yeah, to keep time for the chanting. My dad does that for the big group, like for the temple, and I'm like,
Okay.
That's Dad. Dear old Dad.
This is just fascinating.
I know, I really just need you to meet my dad.
Yeah, I was going to say, Anne is going to be gracious enough that at some point she's going to take me to temple with her and her family, so I can experience what they do.
You should do a follow-up vlog to it.
Yeah, maybe that's what we'll do after I go to temple with Anne's family, and maybe talk to her parents. We can we'll do a follow-up vlog to this one.
Yeah. Then I'll be like,
so-
I fell asleep halfway through. What about you? Like I said, I'm a very bad Buddhist, and I own up to that. As a child, you aren't expected to sit still and go through with the chanting with all of the adults. So more often than not, either A, you ran around like a wild feral thing that you are, or B, you are a part of, it's called Yadin Fakta, which is kind of like youth group.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's kind of like youth group, you know, like you have your big brothers, big sisters. I was never a part of it. My parents were heavily a part of it. They founded the one in Julinsung, like back in the 80s. So yeah, my parents were very much an integral part of a lot of the Buddhist community, or at least the Mahayana Buddhist community in Hawaii, in Oahu specifically. I don't know if any of your viewers are from Hawaii, so if you're in Oahu,
I think I've got a couple folks.
if you're
that
in
are
Oahu,
in Hawaii.
yeah, drop by Julinsung. It's a wonderful place. Tahiti Hai is the coolest dude on earth, I swear. At least to me, he is. So after the main prayers are done, then they do closing prayers, and then there's the procession out, and then we all sit down to a meal. So that's typically what happens during a service. It may have changed. It's been a while since I've gone through an entire service.
Yes, and she's actually agreed to stay for
I will
service
stay
just
service.
for me.
Only for Jenna.
Only for
not
me.
for mom, not for dad. I guess that makes me a very bad Confucius daughter too. Like a very bad Confucian daughter. I'm not honoring my family. But there are, you know, the high holy days where it does become a much bigger celebratory affair, which is kind of why I want to invite you for either Christmas or New Year's. New Year's is the very, very big deal.
Yes.
And so
I know you always make a big deal out of New Year's.
I make a big deal out of New
big
Year's.
deal out
I
of
also
New
make
Year's.
a big deal out of the Mid-Autumn Festival. But the Mid-Autumn Festival is my jam. So with New Year's or the high holy days, you know, like Phuk Dang, which is the birth of Siddhartha.
That would be December 8th.
No, it's sometime in, I don't remember.
Maybe
I don't
December
remember.
8th is Buddha's Enlightenment Day.
Might be his
I may
Enlightenment Day.
I may be a bad Buddhist here too. I'm still trying to remember dates and things.
One of us should just bust out our phones and just Wikipedia everything. No, typically, I get the reminder text from my mom, like, honey, this weekend is Phuk Dang. Are you going to come to temple? Yeah, sure. Good. Are you staying for service? No. All right. Well.
Yeah, I usually get a reminder from my people about that there's a special service coming up for something as well. So yeah.
So that's usually how practice is. It's not just not just the more officially more spiritual side of it, but living the deed of
every day
charity. Yeah, of
every
charity
day.
Every day. So, you know, you'll find a lot of people doing a lot of relief efforts. I know my parents did a lot of relief efforts. They help out whenever they can, wherever they can.
Yeah.
And I find
it's
that
being of service.
Being of service. Yeah, and I think that really has passed down onto me, where I try to be a part of organizations, like, you know, within my means. Try to be a part of organizations that help the more underprivileged out there.
Right.
So
I do too.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So if you guys have any questions, leave your questions below. And we will do our best to answer them to the best of our ability.
Probably in another follow-up.
yeah, or we could take those questions to do a follow-up thing.
We could.
You know, once I've been able to go to temple and stuff, and I'll see if I can record some of that when I go as well. But anyway,
I'm trying to remember if you can record anything. I think you can.
I don't know. In a
I'll
lot
check
of
with-
temples, they usually don't let you do something like that.
They typically don't, unless it's a holy day. So let me check with my parents about that.
Okay.
But yeah, for me, you could say I've been practicing for 30 odd years, but that's, again, bad Buddhist. I show up for the big holidays, and that's about it.
Maybe I will rub off on her in a little bit, and she'll get better. Right?
I'd like to see you try.
Is there anything else we would like to cover in this first?
I think we covered quite a lot, especially with coming from. But like, how do you feel Buddhism is integrated into your witch practice?
Ooh, well.
Wait, how long do your vlogs usually run?
Oh, however long I want them to, but
All right.
usually no longer than 30 minutes because
we're right almost at the mark.
We have short attention spans, don't we, YouTubers?
That's what TikTok's for.
Yeah. So usually for me, it is, well, there's a lot of ritual involved in Buddhism.
Right.
I have an altar I sit at and meditate in front, and I light incense, and I light a candle. And I have my mala beads. And those are all the same kind of ritualized things that I do when, I'm doing a full moon ceremony, or if I'm doing a spell or something like that. Also, it's about the interconnectedness of all of us, that we're not separate. We're all really one. And that's something that goes together with witchcraft as well, is we are one. This planet is part of us, and we are part of it. Everything that grows within us and without us. And so that's the beauty, I think, of these two practices together, is realizing just how all-encompassing our lives really are, and how that we're so much more alike than different when you really get down to it.
Wow, that's beautiful.
So
mine is more of my understanding of heathenry is we are our deeds. And another concept of heathenry is Othala, the inheritance. It's family. Family can mean blood, it can mean spirit, it can mean anything. And because this is such an integral part of my family, I find that, yes, I do feel at home when I'm at temple. I know all the motions, I know where to go, I know who to talk to, I know how to greet people. It's a whole culture that I'm obviously familiar with. I've been in it for 30 odd years. And but I find myself like honoring it in the way at home with the full and new moon rituals, or I try to do them. I missed this last one again, sorry. Bad, very, 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 very bad Buddhist. But I did try to uphold the practice of abstaining from meat for those days. So at the very least, I do that. I made this amazing vegan ragu the other day, just so good. So
you've been doing a lot with your cooking. I've enjoyed watching your cooking.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, if only you get to enjoy tasting my cooking too.
I am also, I will also link Anne's Instagram down below as well, because she does some yummy food, let me tell you. Let me tell you.
Especially with the vegan cooking. My parent, like I said, my mom's been practicing vegetarianism, veganism, vegetarianism really, on and off, solidly since the 50s. And so she has transformed a lot of Chinese or Southern Chinese, Cantonese and Vietnamese dishes into vegan versions of them. And you want to hear something hilarious? I didn't know that some of these dishes were originally meat dishes until recently.
Oh, gee. Good job, Mom. Good job,
Mom. So, with her, like, it's in her cooking. Like, that's how she practices her Buddhism. And so I find it being practiced in me as well. So whether I'm conscious of it or not, I am practicing the philosophy. So, follow up vlogs and answer Q&As.
Yeah, let us know if you have any questions, any comments. Concerns. Yeah, any information that you would like to add from your own practices or stuff that you have learned. Now, mind you, I am definitely still a beginner, so I don't know a lot.
I know some, but it's just a mishmash of everything. So, like we were talking earlier about how, this philosophy came out of India, right? It came from India, went to China, processed in China, and then it kind of like went everywhere from there. So from China to Japan, Korea, Vietnam, and everywhere else in Asia. But it's interesting how each country has taken that and made it into its own practice. So, that in and of itself is a difference. There's Japanese, Vietnamese. I don't know any Korean Buddhists. I should reach out and find out. But there is a Chinese Buddhism center here, actually.
Oh.
There is one.
Oh.
And I will send the link to Jenna, and Jenna can link it in the description below.
I sure can. Absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah, just let me know if you guys are interested in anything. If you want more of this little collab we got going here between Vietnamese and Japanese Buddhism. And yeah, I think with
The
that,
bad Vietnamese Buddhists.
I'm gonna send you off with I love that you guys are here. Thank you so much for embracing me and my life and where this channel is going. And yeah, mwah.
Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I've always wanted to say that.
There you go. I thank Ann for being here. It was so much fun today, and we'll definitely do this again. All right, guys, have a great week, and I'll talk to you later.
Wash your hands.